Well, joining us now is Emily, and she joins us via Skype to discuss her book on the story of Saint Kateri, also known as Lily of the Mohawks. Emily, thanks for joining us. Where are you calling us from or Skyping us from?
I am Skyping you actually from my husband's office in Minneapolis.
All right, so here's
house.
here's the first question. All right, and Kevin and I were discussing this before the show. That's why he's laughing. So we have heard it so many different ways. Kateri, Kateria. What is the Kateri? What is the correct pronunciation?
Well, I say Kateri, but I hear that most of the people that are involved with the Tekawitha conference, and that's Sister Kateri, they say Kateri. But if you were to actually say it in Iroquois, it wouldn't sound anything like what we say. So it's permissible to say either way.
Oh, good, good. Then we are safe today.
You are.
Tell us why she was called Lily of the Mohawks.
Well, that was a term that one of the Jesuit fathers referred to her as in his writings. He termed her as a lily among thorns, referring to the difficulty of living a Christian life amongst a hostile Mohawk tradition against Christianity. And so he called her a lily among thorns, so she became known as Lily of the Mohawks. But it also has come to mean purity, because her vow of virginity and her chaste life, her devotion to Jesus was amazing. So it's kind of that you see her depicted holding lilies often. It stands for both, for purity and her, stand as a Christian amongst a hostile environment.
And she was canonized just fairly recently in 2012. And as you mentioned, purity is one, but there are so many special aspects of her life that still ring true for people today, too. I wonder if you could just focus on a couple of those.
Sure. As I studied her, I was just so taken by how faithful she was. I mean, she was unwavering in her faith and in her devotion, her prayer life. So in our modern world, the things that she did, the simplicity of her love for Jesus is such an example, how it wasn't complicated. It was just a relationship between her and Christ as a spousal relationship. She just wanted to be with him, to be praying whenever she could, and doing acts of kindness and charity to everyone around her. Just a basic, simple Christian life.
What made you decide to write this book about her?
I actually was blessed to be asked by Servant, that's Franciscan Media, to write the book. I had written I wrote an autobiography of a Holocaust survivor and a few other books, so they knew I liked to research. And so when they knew she was going to be canonized, they thought, well, let's ask Emily if she wants to write a book on it. I was really excited about it because I do also have an archaeology background, and so I wanted to study a lot of the Mohawk sites that you can still visit, or are, a lot of them have been covered up and gone back into the earth, and there's housing over them. But so that was really fascinating to me too. So I really wanted to jump on it and do it. So I was blessed to be asked.
And she was born in the New York area, upstate. I had the opportunity to visit the area in Auriesville. Maybe if you could tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up for her, and just the atmosphere it was to be a witness to her faith.
Right. She lived during the 1650s, that's when she was born, and she comes on the heels of the North American martyrs. Those were the Jesuits who came specifically to spread the gospel to the Native Americans, and they first spread up through the St. Lawrence area, the river, and then the Iroquois, which are several nations combined, Mohawk being one of them, are south of the St. Lawrence River. So the Jesuits would kind of filter around that area, but how the Jesuits originally got there was several of them were captured by the Mohawks and brought further down into the New York area as prisoners. And that's how they first got in touch with where St. Kateri was later born. And they were, three of them actually were martyred in the same group of people, the Mohawk tribe, not in the exact same location because they moved around a lot, but the same tribe, same people had killed these Jesuits earlier. And so when St. Kateri was born, she was the child of a captive Christian mother who had been kidnapped as well, like these earlier Jesuits had, from a mission near Montreal. And so the mother had been kidnapped and brought into the tribe, which was quite common. If the population of Iroquois tribes would dwindle, they would go on marauding trips and capture people and bring them back. And if they were strong and resilient, they became members of the tribe. If they weren't, they usually just killed them right away. So her mother, Kateri's mother, was brought into this tribe and became a Mohawk and married the chief. And so Kateri, she was called Tekakwitha, of course, at that time. That's her Native American name. And she was born, and shortly thereafter, her whole family was struck with smallpox, which was another huge disaster happening among the Native Americans after European settlers came. They did not have immunity for a lot of the diseases that the Europeans carried with them. So smallpox being one of them decimated a huge percentage of the Native Americans. And in St. Kateri's case, her mother and her brother and father all died of smallpox when she was 4. And so she was adopted by her uncle, who was another chief in the same village.
Wow. Well, how does a 17th century teen continue to inspire us today? Because she really does.
She basically, for me, it's her, like I mentioned before, her simplicity for the gospel, but also her ability to go against the tide, I guess, as far as persecution. If they, even though she was persecuted from people within her tribe for wanting to convert, and when she finally did convert, you had to have a lot of courage to be able to stand up against everything coming against you. And I think that's one thing teens can take from her, is that don't compromise on the gospel. Just stand firm even when people around you disagree.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great lesson. And if people want to find out more about Kateri or about the book, where can people get a copy of it?
Servant, Franciscan Media has it. I mean, you can find it, of course, on Amazon, or your local Christian bookstore definitely would sell them. Yes.
Excellent.
I love that cover. That was painted on her Saint Day feast. That was revealed at the Shrine of the North American Martyrs. And the book tells a little bit about the painter as well.
That's great.
Well, it is great. And Emily, it was great to have you with us
Thanks,
today.
Emily.
Thanks for sharing all your information and for writing this great book.
All right. Thank you very much for
Have
having
a nice day
me.
now.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.